We're back for another episode of the Road to Civil War review. In this episode, we're going to review the Kansas-Nebraska Act. What happened? Stephen A. Douglas drafted a bill to organize territorial governments for the Nebraska Territory. This included both Kansas and Nebraska. It proposed that the issue of slavery be decided by popular sovereignty. Remember, popular sovereignty is another way to say that people get to vote to decide an issue. How did this impact the Civil War? Southerners supported the bill and the possible expansion of slavery. Let's review by looking at the map. So Stephen A. Douglas wrote the Kansas-Nebraska Act, allowing the new Kansas Territory and the Nebraska Territory to vote to decide whether each new territory would be free or slave. This again is called popular sovereignty. Now, the South was pleased with this idea about their possibility to expand slavery into these new northern territories. However, the North was not so happy. They feared that if slavery expanded west into these new territories, that it would be harder to end slavery in the long run. After the Kansas-Nebraska Act passed, it led to a small civil war in Kansas, which became known as Bleeding Kansas. So what happened? Pro-slavery forces crossed the Missouri border into Kansas to fight the anti-slavery forces. The pro-slavery forces were called the Border Ruffians, and the anti-slavery forces were called Jayhawkers. Both wanted to affect the vote to decide the issue of slavery, hoping to persuade people in the territory to vote their way. Impact on the Civil War: the U.S. experienced bloodshed over the issue of slavery for the first time. And that's your review of the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the result of Bleeding Kansas.